Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
Hey everyone, hope you're doing well and having a good time. I've got some exciting news for you. I've just launched a brand new channel called Crown Corner that I will be narrating stories on it daily myself. Let's just say that if you love hearing about unbelievable entitled people and those unforgettable Karens, you're going to love what's in store on the new channel. So here is what I need from you, my good friends. Head over to the new channel, you'll find a link in the description below, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you won't miss out on any of our wild stories. Your support means the world to me, and I can't wait to see you there. Let's keep the stories rolling. Thank you so much for being part of this journey with me. And now, let's dive into our stories. So, I'm disabled, deaf, chronically ill, immunosuppressed, have muscle and joint weakness, I'm a fainting risk, and so on. I wear hearing aids, use a walking stick, and frequently have to sit down wherever I stand to ensure I don't hurt myself. So obviously I tend to have a hard time dealing with people generally, but this entitled mother I met today takes the cake for the worst encounter I have ever had. I was sitting in a train station minding my own business with maybe 10 other people on a platform, including the entitled mother and her child. The train was delayed by almost half an hour, so obviously people were irritable. It was raining, there was no entertainment, and the train station still requires masks to be worn, which is annoying for everyone but important nonetheless. So yeah, no one is having fun. As mentioned above, I'm deaf, so I wasn't really paying much attention to the people around me. And I only had one hearing aid, so I could listen to music with an earphone in the other ear. It isn't until I see something face plant into the ground in front of me that I even pay attention. A child laid face down at my feet, crying loud enough that my hearing aid was somewhat picking it up. And suddenly there was a woman screaming in my face. I explained to her that I'm deaf. I also had pins on my jacket and bag that said the same thing. And it takes several minutes of her shouting before she pulls down her mask. And the conversation went as follows. "You tripped up my kid." I did no such thing. She points at my walking stick, which is propped up against the wall. Out of the way and hasn't moved since I put it there. No one tripped over my walking stick. It's against the wall. No way your kid fell over it. Are you calling me a liar? I just watched my kid run over there and trip over your stupid walking stick. She then goes on a mini rant about how entitled we teens are, I'm 21 by the way, and how we have no respect for our elders, accusing them of lying and how dare I pretend to be disabled. I'm quite used to hearing this. So I just let her go on while her kid decides to stop crying now that it's no longer getting attention, and continues to chase pigeons around the platform. Some people look at us, but if anyone says anything to the entitled mother, then I don't hear them. "Why is your child running around on a platform?" I ask when she finishes. "Because he's bored. We've been waiting for half an hour and he has nothing to do." Still, he shouldn't be running around on the platform. It's dangerous. Don't tell me how to parent my child. I assumed that would be the end of the conversation, seeing as she had already yelled at me and her child was no longer upset. So I went to put my earphone in, and of course, that was the wrong thing to do. "Give my son your earphones if you're so concerned about him running around." I wanted to tell her that I don't really care about her crutch goblin, but she would certainly be upset if he face planted the ground again and fell in front of a train. Obviously, I didn't, and just told her that no, I would not be giving her my earphones. I went to put the earphone back in, this time making sure to say a firm bye to her when she decides to snatch my earphone from my ear. My earphones have a wire. My hearing aid does not. She grabbed my hearing aid from my ear, which hurts when it's so rough and sudden, by the way. She grabbed her kid's hand and immediately began to lick it with my hearing aid. I followed her, shouting for her to stop and give it back, but now, not being able to hear anything she might have said back. When the woman got to the end of the platform, she turned and ran the other way. While I'm thinking about whether to not to just put my arm in front of her, grab her, or honestly just push her down until she gives me my hearing aid back. She gets past me and then goes to my walking stick, which I left by the wall, and she grabs it and throws it on the rails. I could see her face and she was saying something to me, but I couldn't hear what she was saying. I shout at her, swearing very loudly, because she just threw the walking stick I paid £40 for onto the rails. And she's holding a hearing aid that would cost a few £100 to replace if she broke it. An Iceman comes to my aid and speaks to the entitled mother, but I have no idea what's said. Next thing I know, someone who worked at the train station came to help, and thankfully she spoke sign language, so I could actually know what was happening. I explained what happened to the woman in sign language, so the entitled mother couldn't interrupt, and the woman immediately gave me help. She made the entitled mother give back my hearing aid and provided me with antibacterial wipes and such to clean them. She had someone go retrieve my walking stick, which puts an additional 10-minute delay on a train we were waiting for, and had security remove the entitled mother, who was screaming and shouting the entire time. The woman claimed that she didn't know it was a hearing aid, which is besides the point because she still would have taken my personal property if it was actually my earphone, and said that I was probably lying about being deaf and disabled. So how was she supposed to know? The entitled mother has received a lifetime ban from that train station, so if that's where she lives, then she will have to drive to another town just to get to the train. If not, then she'll never be able to get off on that stop and will have to get off on the one before or after. So yeah, just a wild encounter with an entitled mother in public today. It has been a few hours and my ear still hurts from where she yanked my hearing aid out, and I just genuinely cannot believe the audacity of this woman. This happened a month ago, but the thought of it scares me. My grandmother died before I was born and left my grandfather lonely. He had 3 sons, Pro 1, Pro 2, Pro 3, who is my dad. My dad was the youngest of them. His sons helped him out and he moved out of the family house and into a small mobile home. 10 years later, Bro 2 had gone through a divorce and moved in with him. He suddenly died from liver issues. My grandfather was now severely depressed and lonely. My dad got an idea. He thought, why not get him a pet to keep him company? He later found out that one of his neighbor's cats had kittens. Her cat had 4 kittens. She kept 1 kitten and gave the others to people who wanted them once they were at an appropriate age. After that, he asked her, and she said yes. It was confirmed that he will get a cat. In December of 2019, we brought him his furry baby. The cat and him are so cute as if the cat understands English when he's talking. We named him Charlie. During the summer of the pandemic, he was let outside little by little and we let him explore the small neighborhood. And now on to the story. That day I asked my dad if we could see Grams and Charlie. He said yes and he dropped me off. He had to go to work. He was working on a Saturday because one of his co-workers was on vacation. We are getting a cat soon. My dad left and I went inside. Grams and I let the cat outside, then sat on a porch. We were having a conversation about what his life was like in his 40s. The cat is laying down on the grass facing the street. There were 2 people walking. They walked closer to the driveway. In comes the entitled mother and her entitled kid. "Oh, kitty!" The entitled kid points at Charlie. Kid was like 8. Grams says, "Hi, you can pet the cat but you need to put on a mask." My Grams is high risk. "Well, we don't have them. We still pet him." I say, "Hi, my Grams is 83 and is high risk. So if you don't have a mask, then we need you to leave because a lot of people are high risk and you need permission to be here." "Shut up. Don't talk to your elders like that." She was in her 30s, by the way. "Angel, you can pet the cat." "Ma'am, you need to leave now or I will call the police." Grams tells her. "Angel, take the cat. It's your reward for having to deal with these jerks." "What? Give Charlie back." I yell. Charlie manages to get out of the entitled kid's arms, hisses at him, and runs inside. I walk to the entitled mother. "You can't just steal other people's cats." "Mommy, I want the kitty." The kid starts crying. The entitled mother kicked and pushed me to the cement and said, "Give me the cat now, or I will call the police." Grams says, Oh, you won't need to. I already called him, and I have your picture. No need to run. Also, don't kick my grandson or I will mess you up. The kid runs to his mother and hides behind her. She stood there with a big grin and 5 minutes later the police came. Police officer number 1 says, "Now, what's the issue?" But the entitled mother cuts him off and smugly says, "These two trespassed onto my property and stole our cat." Officer number 2 asks, "What's your side?" He asks Grams. "Well, I have a video if that helps." The entitled mother's grin turns into a red face. I add, "Yeah, she also kicked and punched me." I show him the marks and he looks back at the video. Officer 1 says, "Ma'am, put your hands up. You're arrested for assaulting a minor, attempted robbery, and trespassing." The father of the kid comes to pick him up and glares at us. "Do you want to press charges?" And Grams replies with a yes. My dad comes and Charlie is sadly now scared of the front yard. Hopefully it's temporary. This has all been finalized, so I decided to post it for obvious reasons. I didn't want to post it while it was ongoing. Last summer I bought a house trailer and decided to rent it out. It needed some work, so I posted 2 months free rent for putting carpet down in the living room, hooking up the hot water heater and putting in a toilet. Got a nice couple with a newborn willing to do it. Great, no lease, month to month, no security deposit, and a rent was $450 a month. So they did the work, so I didn't ask for rent for 2 months. And everything was fine. Side note, there are a few little state laws that come into play. If you don't pay rent for 3 consecutive months, you are considered a squatter, which means the landlord doesn't have to fix the property and can actually padlock it and deny you entry. If you're on house arrest and get formally evicted, you could be violated for it. Also, you can be formally evicted even if you have already moved out, so the landlord can get rent due. Also, even though there are eviction bans, if it happened before the ban, then it can still go through. Plus a few other conditions that still allow someone to be evicted. It's up to the judge really. Fast forward 5 months and still no rent money. Yes, they had a newborn and they were young and didn't have a lot of money, but the husband can spend $1,500 on a new engine for his project car. They can afford to go out to eat and spend money on electronics, but no rent. So after that 3rd month, I did nothing. The weather was turning cold. I didn't put in the furnace like I promised, and if they hadn't had a newborn, I would have bad-lucked the house. They were bragging about their tax refund. I gave them a shot to catch up, and they basically said they knew their rights and were in a rent strike. Illegally, I might add. You will see that later. COVID happened and the husband got laid off, so I gave them a break. When he went back to work, I asked for back rent again and was told to F off. I finally had enough. I told him that they had 14 days to get out or I was doing a formal eviction, and seeing he was on house arrest, he knew what that meant. I honestly was trying to keep him from having to go back to jail and keep an eviction off of their record. I was simply trying to be nice and civil. So they left and I cut my losses until I checked the property. Everything they put in was removed. Everything they got free rent for was gone. I got pissed and filed for a formal eviction. It didn't go as they hoped. They said I didn't provide heat, so they went on a rent strike. Only they didn't file that with the court or hold the money aside. They just thought they could stop paying rent. What they put into the trailer was less than a rent. The judge agreed with me that seeing they took everything I was due those 2 months rent. He started slamming my characters, so I said, "Well, you didn't tell me you were going to be going on house arrest when you rented the property." Before then, the judge looked bored, but he perked up. He asked him if that was true, and they responded that it was, and he was ready to make his ruling. I received 15 months back rent at $450 a month and $2,000 in damages because the way they removed the stuff, they damaged a lot of things. As for me, the judge said he had no choice but to turn the eviction over to his parole officer. Fast forward to this month, his house arrest was violated and he was arrested. They actually had the nerve to ask me to speak on his behalf. I didn't. Ruling was his remaining 6 months are now being spent in jail. They have a bad eviction on their record and they owe me money. Know the law before you play the game. I, 49 male, have 4 kids, twin boys, both 27, one girl, 25 female, and another son, 21 male. This post is about my youngest son, Jack. Since they were children, I promised my kids 2 things. 1, I'll fully pay for all of their college expenses, housing, tuition, food, and so on. And 2, once they graduate college, I will buy them a car. I kept that promise for all my kids except with Jack, and now I want to know if I'm a jerk for that. I paid for Jack's college expenses, but I'm refusing to buy him a car. Below is some of the reasons why. 1. I co-signed my name on a lease for Jack's room that he rents with a friend, and I send Jack his portion of the rent every month. The friend started taking advantage of my name being on a lease and stopped paying for rent too, knowing that I will cover the amount because I don't want missed payments on my credit score. I asked Jack multiple times to ask his roommate to pay his portion, but the boy did not care to even respond to me, and I ended up paying for 6 months of his friend's rent too, until I finally solved the problem by getting my name out of the lease. 2. Jack has a very rude and entitled behavior. He speaks to us like we are his low-performing employees. The only time he contacts us is when he wants money and goes no contact otherwise. And we don't know what we ever did to him to treat us that way. 3. Last year when my wife had to be hospitalized, all my kids flew back home to be there for their mother. But Jack didn't want to, but one of his siblings bought him a ticket and talked him into flying out. Instead of being glad to be beside his very sick mother at the hospital, he spent the entire visit making everyone run errands for him. His sister has to cook a very specific type of meal for him. We had to drive him to the gym at a very specific time he demands, and so on, and acted like it was one huge inconvenience for him to have to fly out. I even talked to my other kids about whether we were bad parents that caused Jack to act this way, but all my other kids don't know why he ended up so entitled and spoiled. The rest of my kids are extremely different from Jack. We all get along with each other and care about one another. For the rest of my kids, I spent maybe $100K on each kid's total college expenses. With Jack's careless spending habits and unwillingness to save us any money, Jack's college years ended up costing me $180,000. So I refused to buy the promised car. Jack's upset and has gone to his grandparents complaining about me. My mother-in-law already hates me and now is calling me a jerk, saying that I'm playing favorites because I bought everyone a car and not Jack. And now some comments on the post. Someone saying, "You're not the jerk. If I were being petty, I'd buy a junker used car for him. If he wants to be so technical about holding you to a promise, well, that's his car. Tell him the rest of the budget was eaten up by the ATK. Time for him to learn the consequences of his actions." Another commenter adds, "Not the jerk. Go buy him a Hot Wheels car or a remote control car. You probably never said what kind of car you will buy for your kids, especially since you gave him cash during his college years that ultimately came from his car fund. Plus, his attitude towards family is ridiculous, and if he goes no contact with you all the time except when he wants money, means he just sees you as an ATM and not someone he loves." The third commenter goes with, "Not the jerk. Mother-in-law can buy him a car if she wants. You need to stop spoiling him, giving him money, and doing everything for him. Because of this, he has turned into an entitled, spoiled jerk. That's your own fault that he's turned out like this."
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.